about our bodies and our experiences, then we can be really intentional what might be helpful in supporting us during that transition.
And there's a real discomfort, uncomfortableness. Sometimes these symptoms appear to awaken us. Where are we not serving our body? Where are we not serving our mind? Welcome to Reignite with Reet podcast. I'm sitting here with Emily Heilman. She is my guest today to discuss all things women's health, mental health. She is a clinical counselor. Is that what we...
Licensed clinical social worker, yeah. All the letters after the name.
All the letters that, we can put all of that in the show notes. But we're going to dive into some really in-depth conversations about what's happening in her world, what services she provides, what she sees in women, and maybe they can be of service to you. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Reet. Thanks so much for having me today.
Welcome.
So happy to be here.
Thank you. Our fifth guest on Reignite with Reet. And I am just getting warmed up. I find every episode it gets just a little bit more at home. I'm guided in this awareness that I'm on the right path. I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing, sharing my voice and the gifts that come through me to serve women. So that being said, can you share a little bit about your journey, your history, where you studied, where you came from, and what led you to this beautiful sacred work that you do for women?
Yeah, thank you. I'd be happy to. Yeah. So my journey really begins, I think, from my family of origin. I grew up in a family of really strong women, very connected to the maternal instincts and influences, and I think that really led me to pursue the work that I do today. So as most folks' journeys, mine was, I think, a winding road, but also a very intentional one. I knew I always wanted to work with women, but I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted my role to look like. So I started in undergrad, and I studied women's studies in undergrad, and that was really my kind of introduction into the world of academia and how it connects to opportunities where we can work with women. And then from there, I pursued graduate school immediately following my undergraduate experience. And so I went to Loyola University Chicago, and they have this really wonderful dual master's program in both social work and women and gender studies. And that was an incredible experience just to have 2 years focused on both coursework as well as my field work placements. I had an opportunity to work at a domestic violence shelter with women and families. And then I also had my first introduction into the world of women's reproductive mental health, or perinatal mental health, which is my area of focus and expertise. So it's been a really wonderful journey, and from there, I really wanted to work in perinatal mental health. And one way to go about doing that was to kind of launch into private practice. And so I could really see the folks that I wanted to see. I had a lot of background in training at a university hospital for a program that specialized in women's reproductive mental health. And then from there, Flourish was birthed 6 years ago, which is our practice that focuses on perinatal mental health.
I love the name Flourish.
I love it too.
It really is. It's women. We're flourishing through that journey, all of our journey, but especially during perinatal. And the support is really needed. How long is this practice been going on?
Yeah. So we just made our 6-year anniversary, which is very exciting. I feel like it's this tremendous milestone and an opportunity to really look back and reflect on what we've created together. And I really mean that, because when I envisioned Flourish and birthing this practice, I really was intentional about what I wanted to create. And it was kind of twofold, right? It was both creating this practice where I could attract clinicians that are really interested and passionate about working with perinatal mental health, and they could receive training on site from us, but also being able to serve the community. There's a real deficit of resources focused on perinatal mental health and a lack of practitioners that really have excellent training in that area. And so I really wanted to be able to make a bigger and broader impact in the community by creating Flourish.
Oh, the ripple effect of supporting mothers, soon to be mothers, is enormous. Like, that is a huge impact. You know, as both of us being mothers, having gone through this journey, how much is missing in that community for so many. And if I can just share for a minute my journey, I had conceived my daughter through in vitro. So part of that journey was sitting in like cycle monitoring sessions every morning for a number of weeks at a fertility clinic. I remember vividly like it was yesterday, it was like 9 years ago, sitting there and wondering how literally every morning about 100 women are getting monitored, cycle monitored. They're all from all walks of life. Yet there was very little mental health support there. And that sat on my heart for all these years, and I still think about it. I feel there's still a gap, and I do believe women are, and professionals are trying to fill that.
Yes.
But I think it would marry really well having a facility in fertility clinics. I don't know, I'm planting seeds here.
Yes, yes.
Because
I agree.
it was such a beautiful, stressful, traumatic, all the experiences meshed into one, uncertainty, fear-based, like, that's me. Yeah. I can't speak for everybody else, but being like white knuckling through this, creating life. Yes. And then after your appointment, you have to rush back to life, job, meetings, rush wherever, rather than taking a 30-minute and say, hey, the doctor wants you to do a check-in. Or before. There's it like the workflow would be you check in before or after with your mind and body and combine and marry the two. So that's my vision for the future that I'm planting seeds for.
Yes, I love your vision and wholly support it. Yes. There's a lack of integrated services, right? And it's so unfortunate, but I hear these same stories all of the time. And that can both build community because we know that we're not alone, and also it really highlights a lack of support through this really, it's our most important and impactful milestone that we will ever have in our lives. And that is creating life, becoming a parent. It's such an intimate experience, and what happens through that process is it really highlights, activates, stirs up, whatever kind of language you want to use to characterize it, our own unique experience, our lived experience prior to becoming a parent, how we were parented, any of our mental health, of which we all have, right? Yeah. But anything that feels like a challenge really gets highlighted during that time, our own trauma experiences, grief, and then we have this whole new set of experiences going through fertility treatment as you did, right? Like you said, white knuckling it, which is literally like feeling like you're in survival mode when you are holding so tightly to something just to ground yourself through this experience. Yeah.
While everything else is going on.
Yes.
You know, it's not that, oh, you can just do this one experience at a time. No, you're going to work, you're having relationships, you are being of service, you are everything. And that's all women, you know, and women are still doing that through pregnancy, and this is just an added layer of an experience. So it's resonated with me. But I want to back up a little bit because I got so excited and I had to share that. You birthed Flourish, and now it's a practice that has 26, if I'm right?
Yes, and I just hired 2 more, so we're going to be at 28. Yeah, it's
28.
We're flourishing.
You're flourishing.
Flourishing, yes.
And this is the season we're meant to create and be expansive. So flourishing. is this facilitators, what does that make it made up of?
Yes.
What are the resources available?
So over time, my vision has really come to fruition, right? And I've been able to do that because of the incredible folks that are on my team that I'm surrounded by, right? I really believe in doing work in community with others, all work, my own work, personally, my professional work, right? For my kids, I want to build community around them, right? That's really the tipping point, right? When we can see and experience flourishing, right? When we go from surviving to thriving, right? Is when we're in community with others, especially others where we have similar lived or professional experiences, right? And so a part of my vision with creating Flourish was really to have services that felt more comprehensive through women's perinatal mental health journeys, right? So we have counselors from different backgrounds, so licensed clinical social workers, licensed professional counselors, a few PhDs on our team. And then in addition to that, we have 2 psychiatric nurse practitioners that are also midwives. So they provide medication management and holistic wellness supports for our clients that we serve. And then in addition to that, and this was a really important component that we kind of grew into, which was building our graduate clinical internship program. So we partner with area universities, and usually we have around 3 graduate students that come to join us for the better part of a year. So it's this really wonderful opportunity for them to be exposed to what it feels like to work in a niche practice where we specialize in perinatal mental health. And also it provides this unique opportunity for us to offer pro bono or low sliding scale services, which is really one of my values, both personally and professionally, is how can I create kind of a tier of services where anyone could receive support from us, right? And that it's not based on their resources, right? And how well resourced they are. And so that's been a really, really wonderful addition that we've had for the last several years.
How has the funding impacted Flourish with so much happening in the, political climate, this not, so many things out of our control. How's that directly impacted your clients, your practice?
Yes. So it's an important consideration, right? Because whenever there's political unrest, whenever there's challenges in society and our greater kind of American culture and just world culture, it's often our families that feel it the most, right? Because the clients that we serve are predominantly those who identify as women, and some who do not. And they happen to be the heads of household. They happen to be parents. They're working parents, right? Sometimes working, multiple jobs to make ends meet, right? So when there's challenges with the economy, they're going to feel that. When there's challenges with policies being shifted, right? Like for instance, with fertility treatment, whether or not those can continue to happen, right? When there's challenges with insurance, we're predominantly insurance-based practice, and that's intentional to be able to provide services to anyone, right? Who is insured, come, utilize your insurance to make it more cost-effective to receive services. But it's when we take care of women, everyone flourishes. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Right?
We are the creators. It's been gifted onto us in this universe, that huge responsibility and gift that we create life. And it doesn't stop after we give birth. We're generally behind the scenes creating a lifestyle in the sense of the quality of life of our family, supporting our partners or husbands, our children, their dreams, and many times our dreams on a bookshelf sit over here because the capacity there's not enough. And, that's what this podcast conversation is about. Reignite with Reet. Reignite yourself. It's never too late. The older I get, I'm in this season that I've traveled and had the privilege to witness women in their 80s and 90s traveling around the world by themselves. Starting businesses in 50s, going after dreams, like at all ages. So that is a huge, huge opportunity for us. I think this gift of serving, we're meant to serve. And I love that. I love that we can create space for women.
Yeah.
And every single one of the guests that on this podcast is doing that in their own unique way.
Yes.
So how does your life, because you are also a mom.
Yes.
Mom of 2 amazing, hilarious boys. Full of shenanigans. Shenanigans. I love them too. They're hilarious. And they're both unique. And how has that shifted after becoming, you birthed Flourish, after having them? How's that shifted Flourish? Like what's that added? What's that added to your having the experience of Flourish before motherhood versus after?
I love that question because I think part of this organic growth that we've experienced has also in some way been reflected by my journey and my lived experience outside of Flourish. And so becoming a mom, just as I was sharing, is the most important and impactful milestone that we will experience. And it was no exception for me, right? And a part of the intentionality around creating Flourish, both for myself as well as for my team members, was really to create a practice where we can highlight and utilize our gifts as clinicians. And also it inherently provides this balance to being a parent. And so every clinician, right, it's not unique to me as the practice owner. Every clinician has the ability to create their own schedule, right? So if you've got morning drop-offs at school, you're like, I'm not going to maybe schedule an 8 a.m. client because I want to come home, kind of settle in, and then be able to start my work, right? Or maybe evenings might be really important to you because your kids are really busy with activities and sports and all the things. So it really was intentional to create that balance. And so Flourish was kind of built around, in some ways, the life that I wanted to see and feel and experience, not only for myself, but also for all of my team members, and to be able to model that for them, right? And this is a possibility, but not only that, it's so important because the work that we do and the space that we hold for others is so sacred. And also you have to be taking really good care of yourself to do this work, right? And so we have to be able to serve ourselves and surround ourselves with those supports, that village, whatever that looks like for you, in order to do this really important work.
I'm always curious with counselors and nurses and these practitioners that do this. I do call it heavy work. It's heavy lifting. You're holding up people in some of their darkest hours, uncertainty, through grieving. What does that look like? What does that look like for you and your practitioners? What's some services or things, resources that you use to fill your cup?
Yes. Well, I think that you want to have a multitude of supports and services and resources, right? And so when I think about building community, I think about, first and foremost, like what we each need as individuals and then as a family in order to be able to thrive and flourish, right? And so that's going to look different for each person and each family. But I can share some of the things that have been really helpful for me along my journey.
I love that.
Okay, yeah. So I think first and foremost, doing your own work, whatever that looks like for you, right? And so for me, being able to have a space that I can go to that's sacred, where I feel held. So my own therapy, doing that work is really important. And that can look different, right? Depending on like what modality is used, or what your working relationship looks and feels like with, your own therapist. But that really helps to allow myself and others on our team to be able to provide that support and hold that space for others, right? Because we are continuously doing our own work, right? So that's one thing I think that's really helpful. And I think something physical and or physiological, right? And so much of our mental health and our mental well-being and our trauma and our grief and the challenges that we hold shows up in our bodies, right? So that might be something that we do that feels like somatic work. So yoga, right? And maybe particular yoga, types of yoga, like yoga nidra, or something that feels like aligns with a really healing and gentle practice. Or it might be somatic work with a clinician that does somatic therapy. Whatever the case may be, something that feels like grounds you. Beach walks with a friend.
Ooh, that grounds me.
It grounds us, right? Yeah.
Can I ask you to explain somatic?
Yes. So when I think of somatic, I think of something that you're experiencing within your body. And I'm intentionally using very general language for that, right? Because that might look and feel different for you than it does for me, right? But what we know is that we hold memories, experiences, feelings, as I mentioned, which are all involved in like, trauma, grief, our own lived experiences. We hold all of those stories in our body. And so doing intentional work that is focused on your body, what's coming up for you? Where is that landing for you, right? Doing something to kind of move through and complete, kind of flush out, right? What we're noticing in our bodies is really important, right? And there's talk therapy, whatever theoretical orientation or modality your practitioner is utilizing, is really helpful. And also, I think one of the things that I've learned as a clinician, now being in the field for over 20 years, is really that it's helpful to have some kind of somatic component, right? And I'm thinking more about, and I'm wondering if it's okay to kind of segue a bit.
Please, please, I love this.
I'm thinking more about just the women's reproductive lifespan, right? And so one of the areas that we specialize in and that is encompassed within that reproductive lifespan is perimenopause. So I want to mention that because there's so much that manifests physiologically and somatically during that experience that I think it becomes even more important for us, right? As we're moving through that life stage, right? So perimenopause happens, it's a transition in our life that occurs over a period of years, right? Years. And throughout that time, what we notice is there's absolutely a hormonal component to it. So what that looks like for us, like how that shows up, what they call hot flashes, or we notice disruptions in our sleep, we notice an impact in our libido, we notice maybe an increase in anxiety or panic attacks. We notice that our metabolism shifts during that time. We also notice that maybe our mental health might become more challenging to navigate during that time, right? And all of that is impacted by these hormonal shifts that occur. And for those of us that have moved through this journey as women and we experienced premenstrual symptoms, and then maybe we experienced or noticed something during our pregnancy or postpartum period, like maybe some depression, anxiety, obsessive compulsive disorder, anything, that kind of occurs during that time, we are more likely to notice those shifts in similar ways during the perimenopausal period, right? And so that's something that's really helpful when we know more about our bodies and our experiences. Then we can be really intentional about what might be helpful in supporting us during that transition, which I think connects to the somatic work
very much
as well.
Because my experiences, I've heard the stigma, midlife crisis. They put that label, I say they, but it's been used, right? Midlife crisis. And what shifted my mindset was when I had a friend said, it's not a midlife crisis, it's a midlife awakening.
Yes.
Because it's truly a part of an opportunity that we get to shed versions of ourselves that no longer serve us. And there's a real discomfort, uncomfortableness. Sometimes these symptoms appear to awaken us. Where are we not serving our body? Where are we not serving our mind? And I found, with my experience, I did for a while felt like I was going crazy. The brain fog, this perimenopause, in my case, it was very sudden. I really believe, looking back at the timeline, for me it started at 30.
Yeah.
Because at 38 I was full-blown post-menopause. And there's not enough research. There is an understanding it starts in about mid-30s and it can go on. But where can women kind of lean on to support this or find out information?
Yes. Yeah.
Where have you, or where do you send your clients? Is this a conversation that's had in your sessions or with your nurses?
Yes, yes. Well, I completely agree with you. It's an area that's under-researched, undervalued, and I love that characterization of it being a midlife awakening and an opportunity, right? Because it also happens to be a period of time where, especially when women are then like newly postmenopausal, right? Which would be essentially to be diagnosed as postmenopausal, you have to have not menstruated for a year, okay? And so at that time, it's often this age for a lot of women where they're kind of cast away, shoot off, right? From society or cultural standards, your youth, right, is no longer the focus, right? And we're not honored for our wisdom or oftentimes in our lived experience and what we can contribute and continue to contribute to society, right? Even reigniting and reinventing and reawakening ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Whatever age it might be, right?
Yeah. And that's where I feel that's where we really can flourish as women if we lean into it. We lean into curiosity. Because I think it's a time when there's so much uncertainty. Everything from physiology to mental is shifting. The paradigm of who we thought we were, who we were expected to be, is shifting. We no longer fit that identity. We are literally shedding our skin and having this awakening to be, who are we and who do we want to intentionally be or become? Because essentially it's a becoming.
Yes.
Right? The word be.
Yes.
We're meant to not always be doing and, showing. It's about becoming. Become to yourself, right? And I think it's really important to encourage and inspire women that embrace that perimenopausal, menopause chapter of life with curiosity. Rather than resistance, white knuckling, denying it. And whatever that looks like for you, there's no judgment, you know? As long as you're finding the joy every single day in your life, and that's going to be different for every woman across the board, what brings them joy.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, 100%. And I think this shedding or this identity shift that you're pointing to, I think is something really important, because this is also the experience that occurs when we're an adolescent and we have our period. It's also this experience that happens again through the reproductive journey when we become pregnant and have a baby, right? That identity shift, like, who am I? Again, this sense of having lost something or lost a connection to yourself, right? It's such a big shift, something we often explore during that time, but this really more focus needs to be emphasized in this awakening during the perimenopausal period, right? And not just with research or from the medical world. That's also lacking.
Yeah.
It is. Like, if you happen to have an OB-GYN in particular, and that's your women's health practitioner, if you look at their bio, they'll share areas of expertise or their research background, what their focus is. And you'll notice that most practices, there's none, or there's one maybe, or two people that have even menopause listed. More often than not, it's surrounding pregnancy or postpartum or preconception. So there's that component, right? And you can find research for sure around, like, you know, how you manage symptoms, right? So there's obviously, you know, hormone replacement therapy, so that's HRT. You know, there's different things that you can do to help with that. But really, this really important opportunity to explore this identity shift that we experience, that's the piece that I think is missing and that more focus needs to be on.
I can't agree with you more. Because every one of those that you mentioned, when we hit puberty, pregnancy, or preconceiving, perimenopause, menopause, every step, when I look at it, every phase is a new layer of awakening. From a very young girl to this, you know, maiden to mother to crone, all of the archetypes, whatever you want to, you know, look at, they're integral parts of us shedding identities and stepping into a new self. And it's something I feel like we don't celebrate enough. You know, in the Eastern cultures, there's support rituals. When a girl gets her period, it's celebrated. When someone gets pregnant, give birth, it's celebrated. And there's an emphasis on rest and processing what went through, and there's support available from the village. So the mother can rest. And I think we're lacking that in this Western culture. We've gotten away from providing into producing. Like, we need to produce more results, we need to get back to work faster, we need to hit the next milestone of our career, and we've been programmed.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have you heard or seen this sense of, like, bouncing back after pregnancy, which just really enrages me. Like,
me too.
That women feel that, right? We're surrounded by it, this influence that is the expectation culturally and from society, right? It's often very evident when a woman is pregnant, especially as she's maybe fuller term, right? And so that's often celebrated. You have a baby shower, right? People are, you know, even maybe relating to you as, like, this, like, fragile being. as opposed to someone that's like really empowered and like full of life and life giving and like you're like
creating life every minute.
Like awesome.
Oh, I just created another organ for this little human.
Yeah, that's all. Just sitting here doing that, you know? And then you give birth. And where is the attention and care and support? We recently had one of our team members give birth at our practice. We have 3 that are pregnant right now. They'll be giving birth within just a few months of one another. And this was another really intentional opportunity to extend support to someone that we care so deeply about, and that we're doing this work and we're living this, and, you know, as women. And so we wanted to give her a gift that felt really meaningful. We gifted her postpartum doula support. Having someone come into your home to be welcomed in, and they're there to support you. They're there to nurture you. They're there to help you to heal, right? To move through this process, whether it be making a meal, folding laundry, you know, doing some light housework, caring for the baby so that you can get rest, right? You know, bringing the baby to feed, whatever the case might be, to feel cared for in that way, right?
And provided more of a service oriented as opposed to material gifts.
Yes.
Because the mother really doesn't care if she gets another onesie. You know, we both having been mothers, like it's all cute. And we appreciate that. But once you've given birth, you are so disjointed, disoriented, and so out of body experience that you question everything. Am I doing this right? Is my baby okay? It's an onset of anxiety, uncertainty, and to have support. What a blessing. Like, what a gift. I love that idea. You know, and it's something that I've been practicing in my own life with my daughter. Let's do gifts more of service. Let's do experiences versus stuff. You know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, exchanging gifts. I love that. It's just you thought of somebody.
Yes.
But what I will hold in my heart is the memory of an experience forever. Long past something that's material. Because we created something that will live. And both of us got to share and grow and expand. I love that, Emily. Thank you. That's a great gift idea, by the way, for anyone. Whether you've had surgery, for a new mother, a loss. Gift them a service, whether it's a house cleaning, food delivery. I've done that several times. That became my go-to gift. If someone was far away, I would send takeout. A meal.
Oh.
That's for the whole family. The partner that can support now, the mom who take care of the baby, and it ripples a lot further than what we think.
It does.
It's not a meal. It's the feeling that you get someone thought of you, and you get to rest and just enjoy something. You don't have to think of all that's involved in it.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
As a leader in your practice to other women, how do you create the culture and the support rather than competition? Because this is doing the work for me in real life. Because in an age of social media, we're clicks away from, oh my goodness, but that woman, that podcaster, she's got this many likes, but she speaks so clearly. It becomes about competition rather than creating your own genuine self in your own connections.
Yeah, for sure.
How do you support that?
Yeah. I love that question as well, because I think leadership is such a privilege, and we all have it. that is my approach to our team that we've built. We all have this opportunity, and we can create opportunities within the practice for each person to show up as a leader, right? We all have leadership qualities. And so through the mentorship process is really exploring with that team member where they shine, where their strengths lie, what opportunities they're interested in, right? I'm here to support them as a team, but also individually. What are your unique interests? And how can I help to foster those here in the practice, right? And how can we each wrap around you so that you can feel supported in pursuing those, right? And so I think that comes from, I think that is one of my greatest responsibilities that I do not take lightly, is how I am modeling for each of our team members, how I'm showing up, right? And also just to show up as a human being, right? Like I am a human being. I'm human. I'm making mistakes. I am learning all the time, and to own that, right? When that comes up, right? Because then what that does is it naturally creates an environment where we're all allowed to be human and we can show up in that way, and that we are going to be understanding of that and support you, right? No matter what.
So just showing more compassion, empathy. What if the foot was the other way? Is that the saying? The shoe was on the other foot.
Yeah.
Right? There's been a time you've worked under other practitioners.
Yes.
You definitely learned from the ones that maybe didn't handle it the way that maybe you would. I love that support. I love that you're breaking the mold. Because for so many generations we had to fit into cookie cutters. This is the model of our business, and you have to fit into it. Rather than allowing each individual show up, follow the guidelines, maybe color outside them, because they have a unique gift that maybe your client or can relate to, right? Maybe I have had counselors or therapists that are like this, and there's others that I sit there and I'm just, you don't get me. You don't hear me. And I don't feel vulnerable enough to share with you. And it's an environment that you create. That's a practice you build. So I love that you're doing that for your colleagues. Without them, without other women, we can't do it alone.
Nope. Yeah. And if I could share a recent experience I've had.
Please.
I mentioned to you that we hired 2 new colleagues to join our team, one of which is a therapist and the other is a new psychiatric nurse practitioner who's also a midwife. These unicorns that we've been able to find that have this enriching women's health background coupled with just like this holistic approach as midwives. And then they went on to get to further their training because they really saw this deficit in having really well-trained holistic practitioners in the field of perinatal mental health, particularly as prescribers. It's very difficult to find a prescriber that has training in that area and expertise. And so I'm really excited to welcome them on board. And interviewing and the hiring process is a really interesting one, right? Because you're not only finding out and learning about this candidate, but also we want it to be the most mutual experience, right? I don't want to hire someone on that doesn't know, as much as they can without being in the role, what it looks and feels like to be in this role and to work with Flourish. And so we try to be as transparent and as intentional as possible through the interview process so they can really get to know us, so we can really get to know them and make sure it feels like a really good mutual fit. This new clinician, new to us, that we hired, and this wasn't the first time we've received this feedback, but it's meaningful each time, right? This is someone that's not working with us. They don't even need to, we're not even soliciting this feedback. They just volunteer it, but they say and reflect on the culture of our workplace, that they already can grasp that just during that team interview, right? That they have the opportunity to attend. And the longevity and the retention of our team, right, is really meaningful when we receive that feedback, because what that reflects is that, you know, people like what they're doing and they like where they're working. And that's really important for me as a leader to hear and see, not only from my team, but also from others who are offering that feedback, right?
That lands so well. Because my next, what I wanted to comment on was something I learned in my corporate career years ago. Hire and fire as necessary. I say that humbly. It may seem blunt, and that's in all areas of your life. I don't mean just as an employee or employer relationship. It helped me align my vision, my mission. It's never one-sided. When an employer is interviewing you, you are also interviewing them. This also translates into our health and wellness journey, very much so. I've had to realize you need to hire and fire doctors, psychologists, and it's not necessarily that it's not about something wrong with them. It's not aligned or a fit for you to do the work that's sacred that you need to do. And I love hearing that you have such a beautiful relationship and a process where you want the culture and the environment of such important work to be so important. And it's not one-sided. And I want women to know that. You're allowed to interview your doctor. At your first appointment, I encourage, empower you to interview. Ask them questions. What are their credentials? How much research and experience do they have in infertility, pregnancy, perimenopause, menopause? What are they doing to educate themselves? Because our bodies are changing, information is changing, the resources available to us, the research being done is changing. It's their responsibility to have that, because they chose this career and this path, and it is a responsibility that I essentially, for lack of a better word, they owe it to their patients, clients. And I think that's also important in whether it's not just, but in the medical field, whether it's on the umbrella of like psychology, somatic work, like more of a traditional GP or a gynecologist, it's important work that we need to stay on top of. Because you wouldn't go to a physiotherapist if you didn't need physio for a broken shoulder. We need to seek out the people that are experts. Because we can truly foster that vulnerability and that healing environment in our bodies. Mind and body connected when we feel safe and held. And I know this is a huge, huge issue, or things that we're still developing and working on, where women can feel safe and comfortable to be like, what is your credentials, or what are you studying?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the whole white coat syndrome, right? In a way, it's like you can't, the research found that you can't challenge the person that's in this authority. It's like you do what they say, right? As opposed to thinking, as you said, like, does this feel like the right fit for me? Is this aligned with my values and beliefs? Is this aligned with what I'm hoping to get out of this experience, right? And that's really important, this sense of both using your voice and also being the voice for others, right? Because when we do that, we're also encouraging and modeling for other women that this is something that doesn't have to look and feel, confrontational. Yeah. It's that you are advocating for yourself, right?
Yeah.
And, for a lot of us during different paths in our life, it might be difficult to use our voice. Mm-hmm. And the more that we can be surrounded by a community, particularly a community of women who have these, similar lived experiences, that they can then be our voices for us as well, right?
Yeah. It takes vulnerability to be honest. Put yourself out there. My experience that I'm going to share, that my GP, I enjoy working Eastern and Western. I holistically integrate both sides for my overall wellness. And my GP, when I shared, my naturopath would love for me to get this blood panel done. My GP wouldn't do the blood panel, and she said that my naturopath was bogus. Bogus. And it was like, whoa. Yeah. It took me aback. Like, what? What do you mean? Like, it questioned my authority. It made me feel a little bit shook. Yes. And here I am already vulnerable, asking for help. It takes courage. Yes. Advocate for yourself. And you look at this white coat syndrome, like this person who's an expertise. We've put them on a pedestal. I did. Yes. She knows she's going to help me. Yeah. When she did that, like, it was an awakening, but it crashed around me a little bit. I felt like, I literally felt a bit crazy being like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Questioning myself, questioning my intuition and my guidance, my inner compass. Being like, okay, well, maybe Eastern is not the way to go. I'm grateful that I have this voice that guides me. And I truly try to lean in and listen. Yeah. And I did fire that doctor. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean that humbly, because she's a human. Like you said, we're all having a human experience. However, in that moment, I don't think she saw the humanity in me. She was busy criticizing and judging another facilitator who was providing me with actual real support. Yeah. Yeah. And that's very dangerous. Yes. When people come to you, when women come to you in a very vulnerable state, and I was very vulnerable. And my mental health was very rocky at that time. And I only share this because I know there's women out there, a lot of us, and catch me on the right day. It's rocky. Yes. We're never, it's not promised that we have this, like, balance looks like this. It's like you got a moment of balance and you drop back down, and then you're up, and then we ride, and we're trying to find that medium in between. So I think it's a huge responsibility for our practitioners, our doctors, so we give them this label of healers. But we also remember, the only person that can heal you is you. We can be provided with tools. We can be taught. We can be given prescriptions or some herbs to help the symptoms. Yeah. But the root, you're going to go to the root. You're going to have to dig deep and roll up your sleeves and say, I want to know where it started. Because generally, your line of work, it's not the symptom that you're treating. The root is generally started either when you were a child, and depending on what you believe, in my culture, past lives. We carry on our mother's traumas, our grandmothers, and in our body, in our tissues, lies the issues.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
I just felt called to go there, because I don't want one single woman to walk out of a doctor's room feeling more broken than when she went in. Yes. That's not okay. That's not okay. And there are real resources that you, like practitioners like yourself, are creating this environment and the culture for everybody to thrive.
Yes.
I can talk for hours on this. Hours.
Me too.
That's why we're here. Oh my gosh. I want to make sure, as we come to a closing, a couple of questions I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
And one of them is, if you could go back and give your younger self a piece of advice about womanhood, what would it be?
Oh my goodness. I feel like I've been healing those younger parts of myself lately, because I think it's something that we're not always, that we can be really hard on ourselves, right? And then needing to attend to and heal those parts of ourselves as we have grown and been provided that wisdom, and also have the capacity to be able to heal those parts of ourselves, right? So I would say something that I really believe about women, and really all people, but really truly women, is that we have this profound capacity for resilience and strength, right? And that's innate. That's in all of us. We were just born with it, right? And we tap into that through our lifespan. So I think that I would remind that younger part of myself that that is there, and your intuition does not steer you wrong. And to just really, it sounds cliche, but to believe in yourself, right? Like you are going to be your number one supporter, to boost yourself up and connect yourself to others, and just really believe that you can do it, whatever that means for you. You know, you can heal from this experience. You can, go towards a goal. You can create, meaning and balance and richness in life, and in that process be able to enrich the lives of others too.
That's beautiful. One of these, through that, talking to your younger self, a practice that I've really leaned into is writing that younger self a letter. Another doctor, beautiful woman, Dr. Desi, suggested, I've been writing letters for years, but this most recently, because the way my pregnancy and birth story went, there was a lot of trauma around it, and C-section. And she suggested I write myself a letter, that girl, that woman, on just being gentle. And you did the best you could with what you had, and showing grace. And I clicked something in my head and my heart. Like, it literally, softened me. And I think as we age, that's what it's about, softening, becoming more open, sharing, vulnerable. Because when I look out and I'm surrounded by women that feel more mature, have this rich wisdom, that's what I notice. They're not hard. They're lifting other women up. They're sharing their gifts and their wisdom. They're empowering us. And there's this whole shift happening. Do you feel that in the world right now?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like if we look to our elders, if we look to these women, they want to bring us up. They want to lift us up. And let's be that for the women that are coming up, our daughters, the younger women, the woman that's a new entrepreneur.
Yeah.
How can we pull them up? Thank you so much, Emily. This has been truly a joy.
It has for me too.
Thank you for sharing and your flourishing journey. Yeah, where do you see Flourish in the future?
I'm really excited for the future of Flourish. I think that one of the most important things I'm excited about is the next steps for us. And one of those is connected here to Hawaii. And that is being able to build and grow a space where we can create a holistic place of healing through women's reproductive journey. And I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to connect with local practitioners and healers, of which we are blessed to have in bounty here in Hawaii. And I'm really excited to create that with other women here. So
thank you so much, Emily. I can't wait to see your journey and witness and support in any way that I can. Where can the viewers and the guests, listeners, find you and the resources that you provide?
yes, you can reach us online at www.flourishcounselingltd.com. You can also reach us on Instagram. It's Flourish Counseling Wellness. And we're on LinkedIn, Facebook. So anywhere you want to connect with us, we'd love to support you.
Lean in and please ask for support. You're not in this alone. We're in this together. And we will have all of the information in the show notes, and all of her links will be there. So if you need support, we're here for you. We're here to reignite you as we get reignited with Reet. Thank you.